because Gnostics are people who are in the know, who have secret wisdom, gnosis in Greek, Gnosis, special, powerful knowledge. Many Gnostics in the early Christian centuries, before and after Christianity was legalised in the 4th century, joined circles where they had to learn magic passwords. So when they died, the soul could ascend through all these different heavens and levels, because the soul had been taught in this life these magic passwords which would get you finally into bliss. So you notice, first of all, something interesting. Salvation beyond death is not necessarily linked to morality, being good or trying to be good, nor is it linked to what Christianity and the gospel of Christ proclaims, gift, amazing grace, God's gift of the Holy Spirit to us. No, it's linked to knowledge. So you needn't have grace, and you needn't lead a particularly moral life to have this magic knowledge. And that's what was so ambiguous about the Gnostic religions. So they absorbed magic, speculative wisdom, hidden secrets, and above all an emphasis on not God, as St. Paul says, in whom we live and have our being, in whom. Christian understanding of God is very sophisticated, very subtle. Not God, the force in outer space, Star Wars kind of God, which is not bad, but not that God. But the real God, personal God, in whom we live and have our being. Oh no, it's the God within. Oh, but all people have all heard that. Maybe the women here have called about the goddess within. And some of the men get told, you've got a goddess within too, which leads to interesting problems. But we won't go there. So we have this inner power. So the human being only has to discover all these energies within. And so many of the self-help books that are on sale in the bookshops that you pick up at the airport or the station as you pass by, self-help books, a new age, find the inner power within you, release it, you'll do this and that, and then you might also have a nice diet and pay some money for it. That'll help release other energies within. Now, we can laugh about this, but the tragedy is so many innocent people who are religiously illiterate in our society, a secularised society, fall for this, just as people in the Roman Empire swallowed it whole until the good news of Christ liberated them from it. One of the things, again, you find in St. Paul is a rejoicing that we're free of all that. Now, he wasn't speaking for the ex-Jews who'd become Christians, because they brought their Jewish faith with them. Didn't have to give up much except the food laws and all that. He was talking about the ex-pagans, say the people at Corinth, the Mediterranean converts, whose freedom as Christians was, I don't have to go to the soothsayer or the medium anymore. I don't have to worry whether my neighbours put a curse on me, or whether I wear a lucky charm, whether I burn incense to the goddesses outside the door on the 4th of July or something. It's all, they were free of all that religious gobbledygook and its binding, cloying power over people. Because the paradox of Gnosticism and all superstitions is they promise you everything, but you end up being enslaved, not freed. One of the powers, however, outside that they do tap into or claim to, and here we'll be careful because there's a lot of frauds in this world working in this New Age area, is contacting the spirits of the dead human beings. Today that's called channeling. When I was a boy, everybody called it seances and spiritism or spiritualism. And in fact, there are spiritualist churches, even in this city. They've been around for a long time. They grew up in the 19th century, largely in the United Kingdom and Western Europe. And they are groups of people who try and blend Jesus as a kind of guru and contacting the dead, your ancestors, your near relatives who are deceased, and this taps into a lot of misery and anguish in people's lives. And it particularly boomed, as you can imagine, and it's demonstrable, in the 1920s after the terrible carnage of the First World War, when many desperate widows and parents were trying to contact their sons who'd been killed on the Western Front or wherever. So the rise of Spiritism was very strong in the 20s. But the actual rise of the ideas behind it happened starting in the 18th century as the flip side of the rationalist Enlightenment, because people were reacting already against that, and then running into the 19th century with the spiritualism movement, the powerful popular mediums who would do stage shows even, things like that, and then the mystical pseudo-religion known as theosophy, which focused around two women in particular, Madame Blavatsky and Annie Besant, unfortunately, whose names have got into the last volume of the Harry Potter books, unfortunately for that. Channeling is the word now used for getting in contact with the spirits. So not only do we have the New Age that looks into you, but there's a New Age will get spirits to help you. The Gnostic connection, however, is the basic framework, I believe. It's brought out very well in a useful study the Vatican has published a few years ago, published by the Vatican Pontifical Council for Culture. Google that up on the Vatican website, and I think it's called New Age Movements or something like that. It's a very serious and well-written study, and very calm in its descriptions, and trying to be as fair as possible to something that it's not easy to be fair to, because some of the stuff, especially if you have friends or relatives who've been caught up in this, can make you very angry. What's the church's attitude then to it? The church challenges the New Age because the New Age challenges Christianity. The New Age offers people an easy religion or quasi-religion, an easy option, what you call a soft cop, which it calls spirituality. You notice how these days people would prefer to use the word spirituality to religion. I went to an old people's home when I was parish priest in East Malvern, and they said, oh, this little old lady's come from a certain parish, and she used to go to Mass every day, she's very sick, and she's retired here, and she doesn't want to see anybody. Oh, Monsignor, I think she's lost her spirituality. Well, I thought, well, I've heard of losing your faith and losing your religion, but this was a new one. She's lost her spirituality. I smiled. It turned out she was just a bit depressed for moving, and she was a very devout one. She went to communion every week, and she died a holy death. Be that as it may. But it's interesting, that language shift, you start to see in a secularised society how people move with language, and language reveals so much. The substitute for religion the New Age offers is easy because it doesn't bind you with the same discipline of religion. Religio, Latin word, means to bind you, someone with a discipline, a spiritual discipline. Moral, spiritual, certain practices and things. Okay, there are practices in the New Age, but you can do double dip and you can move around as a supermarket, and there's no standard morality for the New Age. You could be a very immoral person in business or sexually or whatever, and still be fully accredited New Age practitioner or adherent. One word used now to describe the New Age, because they come up with language morphing to describe the whole thing, is esoteric religion. I'm still trying to figure out what the word esoteric means. It sounds like exotic. Anyone here got an idea what the word esoteric means? Hands up, anyone has an idea. I think we're going to really have to Google that up. But it's again, it's a cover. It means something secret, because occult is what is hidden. Occultism, hidden mysteries. Everything from witchcraft and magic right through to some Gnostic Masonic lodge type stuff, or the Rosicrucians, or a little group of people that are trying to speak to the spirits of their dead dogs and cats. I do not joke.